On April 7th, I was going to bed around 9 o'clock. I go check up on my mother upstairs to make sure she's okay before I go to bed. And his son, Sean's son, my nephew, and two nieces are in the bedroom smoking marijuana again. So I said to them how disrespectful they're being. I told Sean, he shrugs his shoulder, like, what do you want me to do?
This is the plaintiff, Carleen Turpin. She says her younger brother got mad at her and started banging on the floor of the room above hers, and it damaged her ceiling. Her brother needs to learn how to control his temper tantrums, and he needs to reimburse her the $2,381.23 worth of damages. This is the defendant, Sean Turpin. He says he was moving some furniture for his mom, and his sister got mad at him, called the cops, and had him kicked out of the house they once shared. Now, she's trying to steal the house from their mother, who has dementia, and he's not about to let that happen. And that's what this lawsuit's really about. He's accused of squabbling with his sister. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $5,000 for emotional distress.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Carleen Turpin, you are suing your brother Sean Turpin for damaging the ceilings, $2,381. You are counterclaiming against her $5,000 for emotional distress. What is going on between you two? Let's start with you, Carleen.
Okay. Well, I own a two-family home. My mother lives in the upstairs apartment. I live in the first floor apartment.
How long have you owned that home? How long has it been in your name?
In my name since 2016.
Okay. And Mr. Turpin, did this home used to be your mother's?
Yes, the house was in my mother's name. And
For
it's
how long?
No longer in my mother's name. Since I can remember. I don't even think it's been 4 years since her name has been in it. Been on it.
And there appears to be some kind of dispute between you all regarding who should be owning that house?
Yes, it is a dispute because my father, my mother, my sister helped pay for the house. Now, it's like a family house. We spent a lot of time in the house. My brother was married, raised his kids in that house. My son, which is 22 now, practically was raised up in that house. And it's been in my mother's name. Lately, my mother, she has like Alzheimer's, a hard time remembering, but she's not getting her diagnosed. She's just saying, she can't remember anything. My mother doesn't receive any mail. She doesn't know what's going on anymore. So she's taking advantage of her money, her finances, not only her finances, but with the house and everything else included. So I would really like to put a stop to that. And I'm proceeding on other courts to try to get some help for her.
Where do you have, you have something filed in another court?
No, not yet.
Okay. So, Ms. Turpin, what happened here that you're seeking $2,300 in damages?
On April 7th, I was going to bed around 9 o'clock. I go check up on my mother upstairs to make sure she's okay before I go to bed. And his son, Sean's son, my nephew, and two nieces are in the bedroom smoking marijuana again. So I said to them how disrespectful they're being. I told Sean, he shrugs his shoulder, like, what do you want me to do? So normally I would shut off the Wi-Fi and the kids would leave. They're not kids, they're young adults. They would leave because no Wi-Fi, nothing to do. So I shut off the Wi-Fi, I go to bed. My phone is ringing, Sean is calling me, I'm ignoring him. Next thing I know, I hear this banging above my head.
Okay, here's what I'm trying to figure out. If this is your house and you and your brother are in this horrible situation where you're at odds like this, if this is your house, why is he living there?
He won't leave. And
Why
we
wouldn't you
weren't
go to
at
court and
horrible
evict
odds
him and
before.
say, hey, this is my house, I don't want him here?
I'm in the process of doing that
How
now.
long have you been in the
He
process
has
of doing that? According to you, the house has been in your name for 5 years. So if it's been in your name for 5 years, it doesn't take 5 years to file an eviction.
The first notice I gave was in 2017. The
So
same
that's
year
even
he moved.
okay. Right. So why haven't you already evicted him if you're the owner of the house?
My mother begged me not to.
Okay.
So I didn't proceed in 2017, even though it was her idea in the first place. So then we were doing, everything was doing okay. You know, he was trying to help me out with mom and stuff. But this was the epitome of what happened when he
All right, so it's
had
April
this temper
7th,
tantrum.
and you've told me what led up to this. You turn off the Wi-Fi, and then what happens? He starts calling you, and you're not answering.
I'm not answering. And then he's banging. I don't know what he was banging with because, of course, I'm downstairs in my bed. He's banging with something so hard that my ceiling, at first I didn't know what it was. It was just the ceiling, boom, boom, and the ceiling is shaking and the fan is shaking. So I go running upstairs to see what it is. And he's coming out of my mother's room. And my mother is standing there in the doorway just shaking. I said, what's going on? What was that? And she's just said, he's crazy, he's crazy. I said, what are you doing? He says, turn the Wi-Fi back on. I said, you're tearing up my house and you're talking about some Wi-Fi? Are you crazy? I'm coming back downstairs. He starts doing it again. I said, I'm calling the police.
What is he doing it with?
I wasn't up there. I couldn't tell you what he was using. I could not tell you.
But you know he was using something?
It had to be because it was quick succession and it was really heavy. Whatever it was heavy enough to shake the whole ceiling. I mean, plaster was falling down off the ceiling.
Okay, go on.
So I called the police. They come about 35 minutes later. They took my report. I said, will you go up there and talk to him because he's threatened to tear up my whole house? They said, no, we can't do that. Here's the paperwork. You know, go to family court. So that's what I did. I went to family court the next day.
And you got a restraining order?
Yes.
To remove him from the house?
Yes.
And then what happened with that's a temporary, and then there's a hearing for the permanent. What ended up happening at the hearing for the permanent?
We haven't had the permanent hearing yet.
But he's back in the house, isn't he?
He is.
How did he get back in the house?
They did an emergency hearing for after about, he was out for like a week. And then we had another hearing to see if he can come back in. And the judge let him come back in because she said he's not a danger to me. He didn't make a threat to me. He just made a threat to the home.
Well, if I may speak.
What did you want to say, Mr. Turpin?
They let me back into the house because she was incredible. She made all kind of accusations against me, talking about I was physically, she was scared of me. She said my mother was scared of me. She made all kind of accusations. And the judge didn't find her credible at all. That's why they let me back into the house.
Do you have proof of that?
I mean, I won my case. They let me back into the house.
Yeah, but sometimes you win your case for a reason other than the other person's credibility.
Well, it's still not finished. And during that case, the family court case, she was she would go. It was virtual, just by phone. She would go into the room and coach my mother, and the judge had to warn her and tell her, "You're not supposed to be in the room with your mother." And she had to leave out the room because she was telling my mother what to say on the phone during the case.
How old is your mother, Mr. Turpin?
She's 78. And the worst part about it, she hasn't been diagnosed. She doesn't take her to get a diagnosed.
Why don't you take her to get her diagnosed?
Dementia and Alzheimer's.
Why don't you take her?
Well, I tried. She wouldn't go. To get her out the house is very difficult. To get her to even go to the doctor, period. When she finds out that she's there for to see if she has dementia, she has a fit.
Well, you don't tell her that.
Right,
with all due respect, you just kind of take her to the doctor and let the doctor do their thing. But, you know, it's not only on her to take her to the doctor. She's your mother. You can take her to the doctor.
Right.
So, you know, she hasn't even taken her to get a diagnosis. Go take her yourself to get a diagnosis.
But the reason why I'm bringing that up is easy for her to say, to forge her name and say, she's in sound mind and body, and to do all this stuff that she's doing with the mail. That's the purpose of her not getting any mail. My mother doesn't see any of her mail. My mother can read. She's still,
Okay, but there are places you can
remember.
go if you think that somebody's taking advantage of someone who's not of sound mind. You file a complaint, and you have independent people get in the middle of your business and try to figure out who's right and who's wrong. So you know that there's places you can go to file that kind of complaint. You're working on that, I guess.
Right.
That's what you meant when you said
Right.
I'm pursuing other courtrooms. All right, I understand that. Let's talk about what's going on here, because nothing makes me sadder than to think, you know, your mother worked hard to get this house, and then now it's the source of her children hating each other. Isn't that something? Should be like a happy thing.
Great
and then
memories.
instead, good memories, and then instead, it's the source of family strife and, you know.
Yes.
In any event, show me how he has damaged your house to the tune of the amount that you're asking for, Ms. Turpin. What would you like me to look at?
Yeah, the beams were broken.
All right, so let's look at the pictures that you're talking about. This is your room, right?
Yes.
And then they've taken down the drywall of your room because let's look at the other pictures first here, because these come later in time. You've shown me these pictures where there's all these holes in your ceiling. And according to you, these holes are made by him stomping on the floor above you, right? Or hitting it with a dumbbell or something.
Something like that, yes.
Okay. How many times has he done that? Was that just on this one occasion in April?
Yes, he did it like throughout the night.
Just that one time. And that, according to you, has broken the beams.
Immediately, as soon as he did it, you can hear every time it was banging, you can hear cracking. You could hear the ceiling fan was about to come down, and all the little pieces of
it was like raining drywall
were coming down. Right,
snowing
off of those
drywall.
screws, right.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, you happen to have a video because you took a video when it happened, right?
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Look at these holes in the ceiling. Tearing up my house. I'm taking all this to court for evidence. You keep tearing up my house. You're gonna have to pay for every single repair. I'm not the one tearing up somebody's property.
Why you turn the wife off for, Connie? For what? For what? For what?
Let me ask you a question. What were you doing up there, Mr. Turpin?
I just moved the dresser around. There was no damage. I took a picture of the floor.
I'm sorry, the sounds I was hearing, were you moving furniture for your mother?
No, that wasn't the sound. What you heard her taking a broom handle and sticking it and hitting the ceiling with it. That's why those little circular perfect holes are in the ceiling.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Because
I want to know what you were doing. That was my question, not what she was doing. What were you doing?
I just moved over a dresser.
You did not move over a
broom.
dresser, Mr. Turpin. You are lying. You were banging on the ground with your feet, probably. You were stomping to bother her right on top.
Well,
That's what you were doing.
There was a little noise in there.
I'm
and
sorry.
Like I said,
were you doing what I say you were doing?
I wasn't stomping.
No?
And I wasn't stomping on the floor.
It
Maybe
sure
I
sounds like
was
stomping
walking
on the floor. You're stomping up there. I mean, it's obvious what you're doing. Now let's talk to you. Okay, according to you, you have proof that his stomping caused problems with the beams. And you sent some pictures, Ms. Turpin, for me to see the problem with the beams. Let's look at the pictures that you sent me. Okay, so show me how these pictures of beams prove that he, from above, damaged your beams. Because I gotta tell you, when I'm looking at this, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm zooming in, I'm seeing the damage from the bottom of the beam, which would be, in fact, consistent with the holes that I'm looking at previously, which he says are, in fact, pictures of you with the broom smacking up at the ceiling, and it's consistent with the fact that when you are videotaping him stomping, all those holes are already there. They're already in the video. They're not happening in front of me. They're already there. So just in case either of you think I'm an idiot. He's stomping because he's mad, and you're hitting the broom up because you're mad he's stomping. That's what's happening. But show me how any of these beam pictures show anything other than what I have just said, because when I look at these beam pictures, all of the damage to any beams there is from the bottom. It's not from the top.
Okay. Slide to the next picture.
Well, let's talk about this one. How did these holes get made there on those beams?
That I don't know.
Oh, I do.
I think it's from the screws.
No,
it's probably
no. I had already looked at that and thought that before he even mentioned a broom. But when I'm looking at the beams and all the damage is from the bottom, and there's exactly little holes like this, what else do you think that common sense tells us that this stuff is? This one shows that
that's the middle of the room where the ceiling fan goes.
This is exactly what this picture shows. I am ruling in this case on your claim against your brother in favor of your brother. On your counterclaim for emotional distress, let me tell you something. Turn her mic off. I don't want to hear her talking over me anymore. That is the only benefit of COVID and remote court. Now you listen to me, and I know she can still listen to me. Mr. Turpin, are you listening?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm not an idiot. I know what is going on. What is going on is that the two of you are making your mother's last years on this planet miserable. Why you're dragging this out is beyond me. Go to court and do whatever it is you think you need to do to solve it. If you think she's abusing of someone who's doesn't have all their faculties in terms of abusing financially, not in some other way, that's what you're accusing her of, then go prove it or shut up. But it's her, according to her, it's her house. So you're going to have to prove that she stole it from your mother when she wasn't in sound mind if you want to get there. So just do it. And you, Miss Turpin, if it's your house and you don't want him living there and we want a little piece for your mother, then go ahead and evict him. And then we'll get a little piece for your mother and let all the chips fall where they may. Instead, it's War of the Roses between the two Turpins. And you're just making your mother miserable. If you put half the energy into making your own money and buying your own house, your mother wouldn't be miserable in her last days. Not that 78 should be her last days, but I don't know what kind of health she's in. It's horrifying to me. On your counterclaim against her for emotional distress, I think you dish it out just as well as you take it. So 0 to you too. Good luck.
So in this brother-sister dispute, lawsuit and countersuit, it ends up in a 0-0 tie. Nobody gets anything. So let's talk to the plaintiff first. Ms. Turpin, you filed the lawsuit against your brother. You did not prevail. What are you thinking?
The eviction is in process, so we'll see where that goes. In the meantime, keep us in prayer.
Okay, very good. All right, let me talk to your brother. Sean, let me ask you, do you think this is going to end the problems you're having with your sister or not? You're about to be evicted, right?
Well, whatever she does or whatever she's trying to do, it's not right. And she's going about it the wrong way. It's just like what Judge Milian said. She's trying to do stuff, cause the damage herself and trying to say, I did it.
All right, well, good luck to you. I hope you work it out for your mother's sake.
Doug, it's interesting that when people sue, everybody thinks relationships are automatically over forever. That is not always the case. Sometimes you have two people, even family members like here, where, there's an honest disagreement perhaps, and you can go into court and get a third party to listen dispassionately and make a decision. That doesn't mean the relationship has to be over.
I had to have a wall fixed in my apartment, and it's going on 3 weeks, and it's still not finished. They had to fix the wall in the bedroom before, and that one only took a week. Should I withhold next month's rent until the work gets done?
Hey, 0 to 60 in a minute, huh?
Yeah,
less than.
Everybody goes.
I don't know what they're talking. Yeah, full out. Certainly a tenant has a right to withhold rent for a repair that is affecting the quality of your life. When you say repair a wall, what are you talking about? A little hole in the wall?
That's probably a cosmetic thing.
If it's a cosmetic thing,
especially if they moved in already before that.
If it's a cosmetic thing, I would not advise
withholding
the rent.
Right
You're causing all kinds of problems and creating all kinds of animosity in a situation that doesn't warrant it yet. Now, if there's some reason why the repair of the wall is structural in some way and it has to do with your safety, then the idea behind withholding the rent is not that you're punishing them. It's that you're going to need to pay for the repair yourself because it's so imminent and important and has to happen right now.
And those things are the big plumbing, electrical,
something that affects
HVAC things, or doors that are broken, windows that are broken, where people can come in, where your own safety is endangered potentially, or you just can't.
But the idea is you take that rent money you would have paid them and you do the repair. It doesn't sound like this person had that in mind at all.
No. Come on, you got to get along. I mean, you want to get along with your landlord. You may need a favor from him or her on something next month, and all of a sudden, boom, you're just going to go, like you said, from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100 and go, no rent for you.
Right.
This is the plaintiff, Samuel Beju. He says he rented out his Tesla on an app called Turo, and the defendant who rented his car damaged it and won't pay. She treated his beautiful electric car with disrespect. His resale value is now plummeted, and he's here suing for every penny of the $4,720.56 he's owed. This is the defendant, Deirdre Toy Powell. She says she washed the guy's car before she returned it as a courtesy. Now the guy's making up all these things and suing her for damages she didn't make. For instance, he's suing her because the car smells like pot. She doesn't smoke pot, and she's not paying him over $4,000. End of story. She's accused of stinking up a Tesla.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that he rented his new beautiful Tesla to the defendant and she wrecked it. But the defendant says she washed the guy's car before she returned it, and he's making up all these damages and is trying to pin the blame on her. It's the case of tearing up a Tesla.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Mr. Beju, tell me what happened.
I rented out my car on Turo to...
Tell me what Turo is. It's an app that allows people who own cars to kind of match you up with people who want to rent your private car?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, you had a 2021 Tesla?
Yes.
And you wanted to rent it out to strangers?
Yeah, there's a good market for Teslas because there's a lot of people that want to try the car before they buy it.
Oh, I don't doubt there's a market. I was wondering why you would want to let it go. But anyway, so...
I needed some extra cash, so
okay.
I bought a car.
All right, so now tell me what happened.
So I rented it to Miss Powell, and she was very nice on the pre-rental and everything else. But once she had accepted the rental and was on her trip, communication went downhill. I couldn't get a hold of her.
Why do you have to get a hold of her?
Well, on the app, you can tell from the phone, the Tesla will notify you that it's getting low on battery and things of that nature. And you can also just kind of check in on the car where it's located. And when I went to check in on the car and I saw the car moving in excess of 110 miles an hour, it was somewhat alarming. So that alarmed me. But it's kind of like, hey, you're going a little bit fast, just kind of, maybe you want to slow down or whatever.
Did you tell her that?
And then
did you text her that?
I believe I did.
Yeah.
I believe I did. And I also tried notifying them over the app. I say them because at some point she did mention that her daughter was with the rental and using the car. But yeah, so I saw it going super fast.
So you tell her, and what does she respond?
There was one point where I got really aggravated when it said okay, Joe.
Okay,
I just
what?
Don't understand. Joe.
Okay.
Joe. And
Okay.
it's I'm like, Joe. I'm like, who's Joe? And why are you calling me Joe? I'm just trying to communicate with you about the vehicle itself.
So how long was the rental period? She had the car for how long?
I want to say it was a 3-day rental.
3 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could be mistaken though.
How many days did you have the rental, Ms. Powell?
2 days.
2 days. Okay, and what did you pay for the rental?
Let me find it.
I think $138.33 a day.
The total I paid was $1,342.
That's why I'm wondering, how did that happen for 2 days? I'm trying to understand.
Maybe it was 3.
So the 3 days was $415. The trip fee is $480. What does that mean? What's the difference between a trip fee and a trip price?
It's a fee that they charge for Turo.
Wow. How much of this do you get? on the Turo app?
On that rental, I believe I get 75% of the.
So what's a trip fee versus a trip price? Like if I think I'm paying $138 a day, I actually end up paying $1,000?
You know, Turo themselves have a lot of funny financing going on.
Okay. By the way, did you call him Joe in the text? Is Joe like a male version of Karen? Or is
he may have texted me while I was driving, and I had my daughter answer the text, and that's the first I heard of that.
Okay.
But I want to.
Was anybody smoking in the car, Miss Powell?
No, and no one was smoking in the car. I don't smoke. My daughter does smoke. I will admit it, but she does not smoke in front of me.
What kind of
the jobs that I carry?
Smoking marijuana or tobacco?
Oh no, she doesn't smoke tobacco. She smokes marijuana.
All right.
But she doesn't do it in front of me.
Okay.
And she wouldn't certainly do it with driving in an
He
enclosed
says
area
that when you return the car, it reeked of smoke. That's not true?
And I don't believe that it reeked of smoke. It may have smelled like smoke, and I'm going to say what I thought, because I don't want to say that he was lying, because I hate the smell of any kind of smoke. But my daughter, when she does smoke, her clothes smell like it. So she may have smelled like it when she sat in the car.
Right.
I don't smoke. I think I even gave you a drug test. I don't do anything.
Okay. All right. Can I ask you, Mr. Beju, will you tell me what were the problems with the car when she returned it? It smelled of smoke.
It had a horribly strong smell of smoke. There was tobacco, traces of tobacco down the side of the seats.
Traces of tobacco. Wait, slow down. Traces of tobacco down the side of the seats. Did you take a picture of that?
Yeah. And in one of the text messages, she did admit to her daughter leaving a cigar in the cup holder.
What is this a picture of?
That, I don't know. I can't comment on what the substance is, but there's like a sticky liquid that was kind of like throughout the car.
What am I looking at? The inside of the door?
That is by the inside of the door. So you little grape thing was the.
Okay, what is this a picture of?
The window. That's just the window. You can see just the sticky kind of there's something on there. Right there, you can see all that sticky stuff on the side of my car.
What is that?
I mean, I can't. I don't want to speculate.
I don't know what that is, but I had the car cleaned before I bought it to him, and I thought
when you say you had it cleaned, who cleaned it?
I went to a car cleaning place.
Okay. Do you know what this is on the inside?
No, I don't. I don't even know that came. But when he sent that to me, I thought he was saying it was still wet because I bought it to him right from the car place.
Where's the tobacco you told me I would see?
I mean, right here on the bottom of that, on the bottom left of there, there's ash. So right there, that's ash right there. It doesn't have to necessarily be.
What happens? What's the first thing you do when you communicate with her? You tell her that she's going to have to pay extra, and how much do you tell her she's going to have to pay extra?
At first, I said, hey, the car was excessively dirty and this and that, and it smelled of smoke, and basically, I don't know exactly what I asked for, but it was only a few $100.
How much did you ask her for? Do you remember?
Specifically, no. It was,
okay,
it was
and what did she say to you?
Basically, I'm so sorry, and I'll take care of it. Something to that effect.
And did she?
It was something that was no.
But I do see that she did pay some $200 and something fee. I do see that.
Yeah, no. So there's some built-in fee in Turo that they try to assess automatically if there's smoking with evidence. So they did charge that. The $150, and that they charged that to her, and I did receive that.
Okay, but, how much was that? $150?
Yeah.
The $3,311 that you're suing for. Tell me about that.
So essentially, because I'm getting strung along by Ms. Powell and not getting responses, and time's going on, I start researching it, and as I start researching the different damages, I find the thing from the National Highway Institute or wherever it came from that basically says that you're devaluing your car 7.7% by smoking in it. So it's I didn't realize it was being devalued. That's somebody that smokes every day. I didn't realize it was being devalued 7.7%. But once I did, and once she didn't want to negotiate with me, and if we have to run up the flagpole, and here we are, then why not go after the full 7.7%? Why should I discount
and that's
it? You didn't want
how
to
I felt,
discount.
Judge. That he was gouging me. And he even said, we can do this without Turo. He said that. We could do this without Turo. A matter of fact, he said we could settle for $700. He said that also.
Yeah, and you didn't take those offers, did you?
Well, I mean, that's fine, but what did you end up doing? You just started to ignore him and figure you'll answer in court or what?
I started feeling like he was gouging me. After I paid the first time, I just felt like, I mean, what?
Did you pay through Turo or did you pay him the first time?
I paid through Turo and I gave him something.
Wait, did you pay through Turo because Turo billed you?
Yes, Turo billed me.
See, he's right that there is a difference. It's one thing when two parties agree to something and then all of a sudden one of the parties says, never mind that I agreed that was it. I found more stuff. Like, then he's banned from bringing it up. But if Turo just sent you the charge and you paid through Turo, that's because they did that the second he mentioned the smoke thing. That's not really him accepting a settlement and now I can't really look at him and say, you can't bring up another thing because you accepted a settlement. That's different. But now let's talk about what actual damages he can prove. What evidence do you have of how it stunk? Just your testimony, Mr. Bajou?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, essentially the testimony. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of the pictures in there.
Does it still smell that way now?
It still has a smell of smoke in there, yes.
Right.
Is it as strong? No.
Okay. Do you have any proof of that? It's very hard. Typically what we would do is you would be in court with the Tesla and I would walk out there and I'd smell it and I would make my own determination. Those days are not around right now, so it makes it a little bit difficult. What else do you say she damaged besides, I understand your, the lowered value claim, hold on. Your car, $150 for car cleaning. Who cleaned the car to the tune of $150?
I did.
Oh, you did. So you don't have a receipt for $150. All right. So, then now the $500 for bumper damage. What is that about?
So on the back of the bumper, it looks like, there's a mark on it. There's like the smears. There's some actual serious damage is the rims. The rims are scratched up and damaged. And she said that it happened in a Starbucks. And that's also in the text message evidence. Did you tell him that
the rims got scuffed in a Starbucks, Ms. Powell?
I think that I pulled. I think I did mention, and it wasn't that. Yeah, when I pulled too close to the curb, I do remember saying that. That yes.
Do you have a receipt for the repair of the tire rims?
I didn't get the tires repaired yet.
Where is the damage on this tire rim? I presume that's why you submitted this picture. Where am I to see the damage?
You gotta look around the edge of it. There's some of it there. It's on the rim.
There it is.
It's not actually
I see it.
It's not the actual hubcap. It's on the actual rim. So it's not a plastic hubcap. It's the entire wheel.
Okay, I got you.
Parking too close to the curb.
Yeah, I know. Essentially, there's only two things that haven't already been taken care of by the $150 that Turo charged her for cleaning. Most of those pictures are, look, Judge, it had to be cleaned. All right. So what Turo hasn't charged her for is the rim rash and then the damages on the bumper, which frankly, I don't see any damage, so I can't see it. Show me, there's a bumper picture, but I don't see damage. Where should that damage be?
It's essentially like if you're going up from the red tail light type thing, as you go up there, right there. It's not shadow that you're seeing right here. That's the actual scuff on the bumper that doesn't wash out right there.
How do I know that doesn't just come off? I mean, did you take this anywhere? Okay, other than Turo making up figures, which I'm not bound by, did you ever take this anywhere to have somebody else estimate the damages? No, you cleaned the car yourself. You didn't pay $150. No, you didn't pay. You cleaned the car yourself. You didn't pay anybody $150 to detail it. You just extra cleaned it, and she got charged the $150 already. So what we're talking about is the rim rash and whether I'm going to trust that your Tesla has been devalued by $3,311 by somebody in 2 days having smoke in it.
3 days, and we're conflating. We're conflating the smoking charge with the cleaning charge.
No, we're not
conflating.
Two
separate charges.
No, we're not conflating anything. I am separately going through each charge. $150 has already been covered. That, of course, is not for any damage that she did by permanent damage by leaving smoke stink inside the car. That is a separate and unique claim that you are making, because you're saying my car is forever devalued by 7%, Judge, because somebody 2 days smoked in there. And what I'm telling you is it looks more like what she said, which is, yeah, you devalue a car by constantly smoking tobacco in the car, which lingers like that. Okay, but I don't find that you've sufficiently proven that you are out $3,311 because somebody had tobacco in your car 2 days. And I'm very sensitive to smoke. I'm very, very sensitive to it. But there's the rim rash, and rim rash is a problem, and it's an expensive problem, okay? So based on the pictures that I have seen and the damages that I have seen, I am coming up with the amount that I believe a 2021 Tesla will end up being. I'm finding in his favor for the replacement of the rims in the amount of $600. So that is my verdict. I am going to order you to pay an additional $600, and maybe you should have worked it out with him on the side. I do kind of agree with you that then he got really, really mad, and then it just became an even bigger headache for you with this $3,311 claim. But in any event, my verdict is for the plaintiff in the amount of an additional $600.
Thank you, Greg.
So the plaintiff has prevailed in this case. Ms. Powell, you seem to be okay when the judge gave her verdict. What are you thinking?
I felt that was fair. I felt that was fair.
All right. Well, you got to.
And I don't speed. I haven't had a speeding ticket probably in the last 30 years. If I was going 110 miles an hour, I would be someone that had tickets. I don't speed.
Okay. Good enough. All right, Ms. Powell, let me talk to you, Mr. Beju.
You get a car and it has that brand new smell. And after they rented it, that is forever gone. But it is what it is.
The big question to you is, why would you rent out your Tesla? Most of the Tesla owners I know would never rent out their Tesla. They love them too much. Why did you rent it out? You learned the hard way.
I bought it to make money. No, in all honesty, it's I'm already up, about 30% into the value of the car from renting it, and I've had it less than a year, so it's working out.
All right. Well, good luck to you. Good luck with the car.
You know, Doug, this is an interesting case because smoke is kind of a transitory thing. Even though it's hard to get smoke out of a car, eventually it happens. So in a situation like this, there's nothing to compensate the Tesla owner for because that smoke eventually is going to go away. Kind of sucks, but that's the law.
What is it that made you decide to become a lawyer?
My kindergarten teacher told my parents that I should become a lawyer because I think when you're a natural-born fighter and a person who argues a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
You have a black belt in arguing, that's for sure. I have in my mind that movie with Liam Neeson where he's on the phone with the guy who kidnapped his daughter and he's going, what I do have is a very particular set of skills that I've honed over a lifetime. Something like that, because you're pretty good at that.
So, and then when I went to college, I majored in psychology, and I thought that I wanted to be a therapist, which would mean that I would have to listen very, very well. And my parents convinced me, listen, you're a much better talker than you are a listener. Maybe you should be a lawyer. And that's why I decided to go to law school.